only on BloombergQuint.com. Hello and welcome to Hot Money Technicals on Bloomberg Quint Live, India's first digital live streaming business news service. This is the show which gets you a complete wrap of all the stocks that are buzzing in trade. I am Darshan Mehta. Let's welcome our experts on the show. Joining us today are technical analyst and mentor FIDAI, Aditya Agarwala of Securities, and AMIT'S Shah of Indiabulls Ventures. Many thanks to all of my guests for joining me. Before we begin with the show with our experts, let's bring in Yash Upadhyay, who has a chart on Shriram Transport Finance. Good afternoon, Yash. The counter seems to be looking weak over the past few days. Does it indicate a sell signal?
No, in fact, Darshan, the RSI is indicating a buy signal for Shriram Transport. We've drawn a couple of green circles as well as the RSI in the lower panel. It's trading at about 1049 at the moment. It managed to go up to 1100 as well, but like you mentioned, there was weakness over the last couple of trading sessions, and this is the weekly chart. As you could see, the mark of 1000 has been a strong support zone for the counter. Although it is trading above that mark right at the moment, the RSI too has given a positive divergence. So if you could zoom the RSI panel, as you could see, we joined the lows and we've seen that the RSI too is trending upwards, with 1000 being a key support zone. Probably you could add now or maybe on dips, and the stock could give a phenomenal return, at least as far as the Bloomberg terminal has suggested.
The last three times, how much did it move when it supported?
It always took support at about 1000 and it went up to 1200 or slightly above that, and then it again retraced back. And historically, 4 out of the last 6 times that this has managed to happen, not once would you have lost the money, because the other 2 times would have been a no loss trade, and the 4 times that it managed to give positive returns, the stock has managed to run up 6.36% over the next 1 month period.
Okay, many thanks for that, Yash. We'll certainly watch out for Shriram Transport. NS, is that something that you're spotting?
Absolutely agree with Yash. Only issue is right now in extreme short term, when you are looking at a trade, you should be buying around 990, 985.
Okay.
And keep a tight stop loss below 978 or 77. That should be good enough. And it seems to be taking that kind of support on a long-term charts.
But you see the counter coming close to 1000 level. So if someone wants to take a short position, at least for a very, very short time.
Right now also it has traded very badly, like last 2 days.
So for a trader, can they take a short position up to levels of 1000?
Absolutely.
And at that level go long.
And around 990, 985 they can go long also and square up their short positions also.
Okay, Aditya, is that something that you would recommend, or do you have a different strategy?
No, I wouldn't recommend going short because stock is coming down to fill up the gap. Day before yesterday, stock opened with a gap up opening when the entire market was abuzz. And in trade today, stock is actually coming down just to fill up the gap area. It's almost done that. The gap fills up around 1035 mark. It's almost at 1050, so just 15 rupees away from that. I would rather look to buy if once the stock comes down to close to about 1040, 1035. Put a stop somewhere around 950 to about 1000 zone. That will be my stop loss, and look for a northward target of 1180 to about 1200.
Okay, so similar strategy, accumulate on decline is the strategy. Yes. Amit, is that something that you're seeing?
I would also agree with them. 980 has been a good base. Around the 980 zone is broadly the stock is trading in a large range between 1300 and 980 on the downside, and we are pretty much close to the lower end of the end of the range. And as Yash also said, I mean, it's filling the gap in the near term. I would actually look to long the stock. Medium term, I think it should head towards 1200 on the upside.
Okay, so similar strategies. Buy on declines is the stock that's where it's Shriram Transport that we're speaking about. And that's the strategy. It's down almost 35 rupees today, but another 15, 20, 30 rupees, whatever, 50 rupees even is the level probably you should start accumulating on those declines. But let's begin with the first chart on Hot Money, and FIDAI has a buy call on UltraTech cement. No doubt most of the cement counters did rally significantly the day the exit poll numbers came out the day. In fact, after that, cement as a pack did well, but UltraTech was one of them. Why are you bullish on this, NS?
Well, I have many reasons to be bullish. One is, if you see the line chart, it is at the lifetime high. It has crossed over and closed above any levels. So, like, that is one thing.
The weekly chart?
Yeah, this is monthly chart actually. And then you have ADX and MACD, both are into positive zone. If you see, this is ADX, which is showing like it is crossed in the bull zone. and it is trying to give a breakout on the higher side. And this kind of movements give huge movements whenever they do. There could be some whipsaws in between when the stock consolidates. But I think
just if you can explain to our viewers what this ADX indicates, this red and
there is a red line. Like a red line is basically, you can just in simple parlance, like for layman, you can say it's bears. And green is bulls. So if bulls are on the higher side, they are controlling the stock.
Okay.
If bears are on the lower side, that means they are not in the position to control anything. So whenever red is up, that means bears are in control. Whenever green is up, bulls are in control.
Okay, that's ADX. Okay.
Yeah. So that's in very simple language, like rather not go into jargon. And then you have MACD, which is also crossing. Like if you see, it is giving a crossover, and it is in the bull zone. It is above 100. So again, that is above median line. So again, there is a good kind of positivity over there. Then if you see volumes are also rising very exponentially, and there's a monthly chart, and the month is yet to close. And if you see earlier, the volumes were picking up, but not seriously. But this month is quite good. Now we can have a daily chart also here. If you see on daily chart, the stock has taken strong support on this line around So I would say you can accumulate between 44 and 4350 approximate in that area, and 4370 you can say, and keep a tight stop loss at 4340. On the upside, the stock has potential to go up to 5700, but it's a positional call, it's a long-term call, and we expect that to happen in 6 months probably.
So it's at 4600 right now, not buy at this level, wait for another.
You can buy and you can keep on adding. Like I would say buy right now, add on dips between 44 and 4370, and means hold for longer term at 5700 for the big time targets.
4340 is the strict stop loss.
4340 is the strict stop loss.
Okay, thanks for that, NS. So positive view coming in on UltraTech cement. Amit, are you positive on cement pack and UltraTech as well?
Yes, UltraTech, in fact, I had covered some time back in the same show, and I continue to like the stock. In fact, cement as a pack is showing a lot of momentum. Even mid-cap cements are also showing momentum. So I think the rally is quite broad-based as far as the sector is concerned. For UltraTech particularly, I have a 5,000 plus kind of a target on this one. One can keep a stop of 44.30 and even can buy at this price, and maybe another use 2 to 3% kind of dips to accumulate the stock for targets of 5,000 and upwards.
Is this the best stock in the cement pack?
Yes,
you said
I would
that
say so. Probably I like the stock.
Okay, that's the view that's coming in. What about you?
I would not buy at current levels, probably wait for some correction to kick in the stock, then probably get into it. Close to about 4400 to about 4450, that will be my first accumulation zone. If stock breaks 4400, then probably I'll look to add it around 4300 on the downside. So I see some bit of profit booking in UltraTech because there are negative divergences on the daily charts, plus on the weekly chart. I see stock selling off from the highs after making highs of 4800. So some profit booking is on the cards as far as UltraTech cement is concerned, but on the longer term time frame, definitely the trend is upward bias, and I would look to accumulate the stock on declines close to about 4400 to about 4300, and look for an northward target of 5000 then once it corrects.
Okay, so I think the consensus view is buy probably at this level, buy on lower levels. That's the across view that's coming in. But the view is 5,000 probably is the potential target on UltraTech cement, and cement as a pack is looking rather strong in trade. The next chart is from Aditya Agarwala, and it's on Blue Star. Let's have the chart out, Aditya, if you can come out. And it's a bullish call, I bet.
Yes. It's pretty much clear from the chart and the trend lines that I've drawn. So it's broken out from an ascending triangle pattern. What is an ascending triangle pattern is the highs are similar. So I join the highs, I get a horizontal trend line, and I join the recent lows, which has made a higher low. So this was a low close to about 520, and then it made a higher low of about 580, 590. I joined both the lows and I get an upward sloping trend line. So this is called an ascending triangle pattern. A couple of weeks back, it has broken out from that ascending triangle pattern, and in previous week it actually came down to test the neckline, and this week again it's resumed its upward trajectory. So this is a classic chart wherein a stock breaks out from an ascending triangle pattern, then declines to test the neckline and then resume its upward momentum. So this is one of the key reasons why I'm bullish on the stock. Along with that, if I take a look at the RSI, RSI continuously makes higher lows as the stock is making higher lows. So this is in confluence with the price momentum, and recently stock didn't even test below 50, and from there RSI has turned up. So overall, this tells me that there's bullish setup, a strong bullish setup on the charts. I would buy at current levels, probably look to accumulate even on small declines put a stop somewhere around 710, look for targets of 820 to about 850 on the upside.
Okay, and it's a positional trade or it's a quick trade?
It's more of a positional trade because if you take a look at the stock generally gives you small moves on the upside. It gives you big move on the upside. So I would want to buy at current levels, look to accumulate on another 2 to 5% decline and wait for targets of.
Okay, and what's the purple and pink line? Is the
so these are the moving averages. Okay. These are the moving averages. They are now converging together, and this line is on the verge of crossing over this. So this will be a confirmation. The moment it crosses 800, I believe this line will gradually cross over, which will be a confirmation of the full trend.
Okay, 756. Thanks so much for that, Aditya. Amit, Bajaj Blue Star, at 756. What's your sense?
Yeah, I mean, the stock had broken its multi-year range above 535, made a new high, retested it successfully, then again went into a range. Recently, also, it has successfully broken about an inverse head and shoulder on the weekly charts. Retested it successfully, again made a new high. So it's doing all the right things, I would say. My sense is this stock is likely to make further new highs and head towards 900 on the upside.
Okay, Ines, what's your sense on?
I agree with both of them actually, but I would like to just be very careful at this level. Needs to cross 775 on the higher side if it wants to give a breakout on daily charts, and on the downside needs to sustain above 730, 725. If it does that, then you can keep a stop loss around 718 and you can go long, and expect in extreme short term 840 if it crosses 775.
Okay, that's the view that's coming in on Blue Star. The next chart is from Amit and it's on Just Dial. It's a buy call. Remember, the counter is trading at a fresh 52-week high. It's been doing rather well for itself. Let's have the chart. Why are you bullish on Just Dial?
So just before talking about this phase, talk about this phase. So
sure.
This was an entire 2-year downtrend for Just Dial. So it has been a 2 long year downtrend for Just Dial. Now this phase from here, if we see, it's been a 2-year consolidation, and what we are seeing is a beginning of a new up cycle. So what we have seen here is a down cycle now again into a 2 years of consolidation. So stock has probably digested a lot of news flow, its own performance, whatever corporate developments, etc. It has digested this phase very well and now is in a new phase of its uptrend. Of course, the stock has risen a lot. I mean, this stock is actually just flying and not even giving a proper entry point. As we said today, also it has risen a lot. So I would advise to buy on declines. But this is a very, very good setup. I would say these are the kind of bases you need, especially after you have seen a long downtrend. It's not that that stock is hurrying into some kind of a move, developing. It has taken its own time, digested the news flow, and probably these are the kind of matured kind of moves that you see, which generally tend to last and generally tend to give healthy returns going ahead, basically.
Okay, so it's at 742 right now.
Right.
What's the strategies that one has to employ?
The stock is looking quite strong, but I would look to buy it on declines, maybe towards 630 to 650. Actually, as we say, it has even went a bit ahead of that, because even
that
today
means it's
also,
a 100 rupee correction that you anticipate.
Today also it has risen a lot. Today, but my sense is, one can even actually look for smaller dips also to accumulate. It may not even come towards that 650 region is what my sense is. So one can even, I'm quite bullish on this stock. My sense is this can cross 1,000 rupees on the upside.
Okay, what's the time frame?
The 1,000 rupee time frame can happen over the next 3-4 months. The near-term target is actually 815, but 1,000, as I said.
What's the strict stop loss that one has to keep here?
I would keep a stop loss below. I would keep a stop loss of 619, which definitely is away from here. But I do see the stock heading towards 1,000 rupees. So one can utilize maybe 5% kind of dip on this stock, which see, it's a high beta stock, so you can get those kind of dips in the stock.
So my only thing is, earlier also, if you see, it's gone above this line and it has corrected. It's tried multiple times.
Correct.
Here
Exactly.
also it's gone down, it's corrected. Here also it's corrected.
Correct.
Why do you think that this time the move will sustain?
I mean, that is what is important. If you see, this is a weekly chart. If you see, it had tried multiple times crossing this zone. But even here, it did try crossing this, but it failed to, close above it. What we are seeing is the dips are not that larger, which says that the bullish control over the stock is still there, and we are seeing large candles, large follow-up buying happening, and the range breaking on the upside on a sustained basis, which tells you that the power is shifting towards the bull side on the stock. Okay,
many thanks for that, Amit. So Just Dial is the stock. NS, or you also have a buy on Just Dial.
Yeah,
so two of our guests have Just Dial. So that's one stock that you definitely have to watch out for. We'll have you also talk about it, and then Aditya can give his verdict. Yeah, you can have and talk about.
Okay, fine.
This is your chart, right?
Yeah, this is my chart. Basically, if you look at it, he's drawn a triangle, and I am seeing it as a cup and handle. If you see this, many times, like he discussed, and we see the stock has actually kept on, resisting in this zone around 600-ish, and then it had fallen and very deeply. But if you see the falls also, every time whenever it has recovered very sharply. And these were false breakouts. So whenever a stock wants to make a big move, usually what happens is the false breakouts removes the weak players, and then they tend to have, like, see, if you see here also, we had a very strong false breakout here. Above 600, the stock had gone up to almost 676, and then retraced back up to 540. Now, if you look at this this kind of pattern, whenever the stock removes the players and then makes a huge move, and this is happening in just few days, right? So that is the reason, the stock has a potential. Like in 2 weeks, with like this week is yet to get over, and it has crossed. So there is a huge momentum here. And if this kind of false breakdown also, if you see this, there was a range here, and this is where this we believe the human element of creating psychological greed and fear. So here it was greed, and here it is fear, where people who are weak players or who do not understand much of technicals, or even if you know technicals, this kind of moves remove the players because of the fear that it may fall further, and it may go down all the way, like you just asked, my friend over there. So this is the reason, we need to be careful whenever the stock gives a breakout like this, above the trend line area, and within the after recovering from this consolidation area, and that too in a short time. Like if you see this, there were almost 8 to 10 weeks candle, and which was everything was retraced in just two candles. Now that shows the power momentum with the bulls, and that's the reason we are pretty bullish, both of us, and I also believe the stock has potential at least to go up to 900 in extreme short term, and that I have assumed to it can go in within maybe 6 months, but it can happen in few days also, or few weeks also. I think the stock is seeing lots of re-rating because of it becoming one of the only listed stocks in the space of payment bank. Like they have JD Pay app, which is going to be there are no other listed stocks from that area. So that is creating a buzz in the stock. And on the upside, the potential is minimum 900 in extreme short term, while it can go much higher also, up to 1200 and higher also. But let's assume right now.
What's the strategy? It's at 750 right now.
Yeah, so you can buy right now and have a provision to add a SIP.
So what's the strict stop loss here?
I would give it at 638. 638. And buy nearer to, if it dips because of some volatility in the market, like tomorrow is a big event, and if there is some volatility, you get it around 650, it should be bought. And every dip should be bought. Maybe you can create a SIP for yourself, and you can accumulate this stock on a weekly SIP kind of thing, rather than wait for a monthly SIP. Okay. Because it may not come so sharply for a longer term and stay there. It may keep on moving upwards only because of the momentum that we see here.
Okay, many thanks for that, Dennis. And finally, Aditya, what's your sense? Would you be as bullish?
Stock has already run up from 600 to 750. There's no doubt about that. There's extreme bullishness in the stock. Look at the volumes; they've been extremely high in the bull run that we've seen in the stock of past few trading sessions. The only thing to notice out here is what risk to reward ratio if you buy at current levels of 750. If I'm looking at a target of 900, which is very much possible on the cards in the next coming weeks, then I can definitely buy at current levels, put a stop somewhere around 640 to about 630. That is my 100 rupee downside from here. And if I'm looking for a target of 900, that's a decent upside from current levels, 150 rupees, more than 150 rupees on the upside. So yes, I can go long even at current levels, though the comfort level is slightly away from the breakout point, which was around 630 to 640. 640. Still, 900 is possible on the cards. On the daily chart, stock is sitting at extreme overbought levels. So expect the stock to cool off a little bit in a day or two.
So what level would you buy it if you have time and you wouldn't mind buying the counter lower? At what level would
Somewhere
you?
around 660 to about 680 is a good entry point for me.
And what would be a strict stop loss for this?
630 will be my strict stop loss. If 630 is broken, I'm out of the trade. And 900 on the upside will be my target.
Okay, many thanks for that. So I think it's a consensus bullish call that's coming in, but I think all the analysts agree that it's run up significantly. So buy the counter now, buy on decline. The strategy can be up to you, but I think the consensus targets that are coming in probably over the next 1 or 2 series could be in the range in excess of 900 to 1000. So that's the view on Just Dial, and 2 of our guests have recommended it today, so that should be on your radar. The next chart is from Aditya, and it's a buy call on Bajaj Electricals. So let's have the chart. I don't think we've had this chart before. We've spoken about this company before on Hot Money, but yes, why are you bullish?
So this is a weekly chart of the stock, and I've again joined the highs, recent highs that the stock made on the weekly charts, and I've joined the recent lows. I get a beautiful downward sloping wedge pattern. A downward sloping wedge pattern tells you generally stock breaks out on the upside from a downward sloping wedge pattern. It's a bullish pattern. Now, if you take a look at the candle that the stock has made in the last 3 trading sessions, it's a bull candle. Stock did run up from the lower end to the upper end, then it corrected, took support at 38.2% Fibonacci retracement level, and from there it's resumed its upward trajectory. So it's almost on the verge of a breakout from this resistance line, which is somewhere around, I guess, 575 would be the breakout point for the stock. If it breaks out above that, it's a no-brainer that the stock will head higher. If I move on to the daily chart, stock has already broken out from a downward sloping channel. So one confirmation is already in place, that is in trade today. It's broken out from a downward sloping trend line from a channel, and the second confirmation is that the stock has taken support in the correction at 38.2% Fibonacci retracement level, and it's turned upwards. The third and the final confirmation will be a breakout above this point. So either I buy at current levels and add on if the stock comes down to 38.2% Fibonacci retracement level, or add on above the breakout. In any case, the stock I feel is poised to make a higher highs. Now, if I take a look at the RSI, RSI again is a major factor in deciding whether the trend is up or not. So out here again, RSI is making higher lows, and recently stock RSI again took support at 50, which is a very strong level, and from there it's turned up. So overall, it tells me that the stock is making higher highs, higher lows, and it should be bought for targets of around 600. I'll just tell you the targets.
Yeah, it's 565, right?
Somewhere around 630 to about 650 on the upside, and put a stop somewhere around 525.
Okay, many thanks for that, Aditya. NS, what's your sense on Bajaj Electricals?
Yeah, agree with him, but would love to buy it bit cheaper, maybe around 545, 525, between that area if it comes to that. And on the higher side, it needs to cross above 590.
Okay.
If it does that, then you can expect the price to go all the way up to 700 plus. So the stock has huge potential. One should buy and keep and accumulate, means provision between 540, 525, and keep a tight stop loss below 510.
Okay, and Amit, what's your sense?
Yeah, I mean, whichever time frame, if you see, the stock is definitely in a strong uptrend, and I would keep a stop below 520 and expect levels of 640 on the upside. The near-term support is around 545 to 548 region. So one can utilize those kind of small dips to accumulate the stock, and one can expect 640 on the upside. See, broadly, Darshan, of course, I mean, if a stable government, the expectations are there. We are seeing a lot of activity started in the mid caps, and my sense is that even in a favorable scenario, the Nifty may not have a big upside, but there is a large catch-up to be had in the mid and the small cap end of the market, which I would say that once the stable government is there on expected lines, we can see a very, very sustained rally coming up on the broader market. So, I mean, probably we are seeing just the start of that ahead of the elections.
Okay, and that's the view that's coming in on Bajaj Electricals. And the last chart, at least from an analyst, is Canara Bank, and that Amit has a buy call on it. Let's have the chart. Amit, why are you buying? Why are you bullish on Canara Bank, and what's the logic?
See, what we are aiming here is an early entry into the trend. Broadly, if we see, the stock is trading between a range of 200 and 300. This is the top end of the range. What we are seeing, if we see it on the weekly chart, it's even visible better that it's trading broadly in the range of 300 and 200 on the downside. Now this is a flag pattern, of course it's a bit deeper, but still it is a flag pattern, and the stock has broken out of it and is sustaining. It's a gap up which is being sustained above it. So the stop here is, the risk reward is very much in favor. In the first move, one can expect a move towards 290 to 300 on the upside, but once it manages to stay above 300, it has a much steeper target on the upside. So it's a good entry point at this point of time.
Okay, what would be a strict stop loss for this?
So the stop loss for this one is 236 on the downside. The first target is in the range of 290 to 300, but once it maintains above 300, it can go as high as 380 on the upside. So it's a very good entry point at this point of time.
Okay, thanks so much for that, Amit. Aditya, Canara Bank 260, what's your call?
Yes, I see an upward momentum in the stock. There's definitely a trend reversal, an immediate trend reversal. Though the stock is yet to make a higher high, which is 300. So my first target will be 300 if I buy at current levels, and I'll put a stop somewhere around 240.
Okay, NS, similar strategy?
Absolutely agree. I keep a stop loss at around 233 and needs to cross 272, 273. If it does that, then you can expect 300 in extreme short term.
Okay, so consensus bullish call coming in on Canara Bank. And before we end the show, let's bring in Yash Upadhyay, who is having a chart on DCM Shriram. Yash, what does the chart indicate?
Another good chart to watch out for DCM Shriram. Now this time around it's a sell signal by the RSI. The positives with respect to the earnings and the near normal monsoon, that seems to be factored in, because if you take a look at the weekly chart, we've seen last 4 to 5 consecutive weeks of strong up move, and with that the stock is now trading somewhere around the mark of 601 to 602. That is also where it has a very stiff resistance. Take a look at back in the month of December last year. That is where the high was. It touched that twice and then it came back to the levels of close to about 300, and it has been in this range. So 621 is the resistance mark for the stock. I believe that from here on it could go up to those levels, but then again it would not be able to hold on to it. And the RSI 2 in the lower panel on the weekly charts has gone above the mark of 70, which indicates that the stock is overbought. And every time that this has managed to happen, the stock has seen a swift correction. So from 601 or 620, even if it goes up to those levels, it could be a sell on rise kind of a strategy when it comes to DCM Shriram.
Okay, and what's the earlier trend indicating?
So Darshan, 6 out of the last 8 times that this has in fact managed to happen, the stock has managed to fall 15.5% over the next 1 month period. So the RSI is quite effective as far as this the stock is concerned.
Okay, Nes, what's your sense?
I agree absolutely with the Yash, and it's a beautiful, his observation is very good. 620 and 625 area is a area where you need to be very careful and start booking your profits if you are long in this stock, and maybe keep a provision to add on dips again around 510.
Okay, Aditya?
So 630 is definitely a resistance, as everybody's pointing out on the chart. But if the stock manages to cross above 630, I would give more weightage to price rather than looking at the RSI, because in the past also RSI has crossed levels of 90 as well when the stock made all-time highs. So this time around it can also, it's below 80 right now. So there's more scope as far as the RSI is concerned on the upside, on the weekly chart, on the monthly chart. 630 is a resistance, so definitely if somebody is holding on to it, book partial profits around 630 and wait to see how stock reacts around 630. If it crosses, continue to hold. If it fails to cross, book out complete profit.
Okay, Amit, what's your sense?
Yeah, so 630 is obviously a very obvious resistance zone. So one can see some maybe 4-5% kind of a downside, short-term downside coming in, some sort of profit booking coming in. But I think the underlying trend is very strong. The volumes are also quite strong along with this. As a whole, if you see this also, of course it's a diversified stock, but it's also mainly also into sugar. And if you see, the sugar stocks are doing quite well. Eventually, I do see this stock breaching its all-time highs and heading much higher above that. So yes, a trading play around that 630 is always possible, 4-5% kind of a downside. But beyond that, I'm actually looking the stock to do much better going ahead.
Okay, that's the view that's coming in on DCM Shriram. But with that, it's a wrap on today's edition of Hot Money. Let me thank all my guests for coming in. NS, Aditya, Amit, thank you so much for coming in today. Our PQ comes up next, stay tuned to Bloomberg Quint.